mentioning both sides. All right, let's talk about the inventory model. How do we take this model and bring it into this world so it helps accomplish good customer experience and good profitability? The replenishment model addresses the two objectives of customer service and profitability. All right, now here's the key questions. When? And when in the replenishment world, you go, oh yeah, this is getting right in our world. But if you're not in the replenishment world, this works the same way in everyday life, and we'll talk about that. When do I need to replenish? In a little bit, we're going to find out as long as I replenish at the right time and have the inventory come in before I run out, what's going to happen with my fill rate? I'll have a good fill rate. So as we go through this, you're going to find out when we replenish is our fill rate. What and how much to replenish becomes our profitability. Okay, it's time to cut a PO. What items should I put on the PO and how much of it should I bring in? Same way in the transfer world, works the same way. So we're going to go address the when, what, and how much, which is going to equate back to our customer experience and our profitability. Then later on, and it won't happen today so much, in the day after tomorrow, might be the end of tomorrow, we're going to talk about what's not needed. Surplus inventory, excess inventory, dead stock, the stuff we can get rid of that's not going to affect our customer experience at all, but still help our inventory. So let's go address when, what, and how much. And again, we're going to do two things. We're going to explain how the purchasing model works overall, but you're also going to see how this ties back to customer experience, fill rates, and profitability. Cost to carry, cost to purchase, and freight, lowest cost to serve. Let's just start off. When do we need to replenish an item? How do we know when it's time to cut a PO or transfer for an item? What was it?
Demand. So when you're low based off demand and lead time?
Yep, so again, all the words are coming out there. When it's low based off of demand and lead time. Perfect. Demand, usage, interchangeable. All right, so let's just go through that for a second. And I sometimes use some analogies, but this one I don't think we'll have to so much. Let's say I've got something I sell 30 a month of. Now, for a little bit, this is Grant. Anyone that's seen me before knows I like to do this. This is Grant's whiteboard world for a little bit. So everything works perfectly, all right, the way I say. Then we'll bring reality back to it. In Grant's whiteboard world, every month is 30 days. We always sell 30 a month, and we're going to equate that to 1 a day. We're open 7 days. So just to get through this, you're going, wow, what a whiteboard world. So 30 a month, or we sell 1 per day. Our usage, demand, whatever it is, transfer, 1 a day. Our lead time is 7 days. How many can I get down to in this world, place a PO or transfer, and not run out of stock? 7 units, right? Now, some of you are already trying to build in other things, and I'm there, but right now in Grant's world, it's always 1 a day, always takes 7 days, so the answer is 7. So here's what we've got. When we get to 7 units, now some of you may call this a min. Most of us today would call it an order point. Some of you would call it a reorder point. But it's the point where it says when you get down to this, it's time to buy so you won't run out of stock before your next customer or transfers need it. And again, 7 units. And again, this is what I'm going to equate back to the win. And in a little bit, you're going to find out this is 90% of the fill rate. So here's all that happened. The answer was 7. How did you get that? Well, I use 1 a day, and it takes 7 days to get in, so how many do I use over the lead time? And here's all that happened. When I got down to 7, the system says it's time to replenish. So I cut a PO or transfer. 1 day goes by, I sell one. 2nd day goes by, I sell another one. Finally, over here on the 7th day, I've sold off the 7th unit that I had on the shelf, but what happens in Grant's whiteboard world 7 days after he places the PO or transfer? It's coming in. So everyone agree with this at this point? If I always replenish at 7, when I get down to 7, selling 1 a day in a 7-day lead time, I'm never going to run out of stock. I'm going to have a 100% fill rate on this item, all based on when. Now lock something in mind. Does everyone agree with what I just said? In Grant's whiteboard world, if I always replenish when it takes 7, I always sell 1 a day and always take 7 days, I will never have a stock out. Everyone agree? Did we talk about how much yet? Ooh, because a lot of you are in off how much we buy as service. So I'm just going to bring that home in a little bit. But we haven't even said whether you buy 1 or 10. We just said when you get to 7, you place a buy. We will never run out of stock. So I'm planting a seed with you of that when versus how much world and what controls profits and what controls customer experience. So now, what's the issue with Grant's whiteboard world? Now's the time to throw it out there. The variables. Yeah, usage and lead time. All right, so hey, it's 4th of July's coming up. I think it's on a Saturday, but if it wasn't, it was on a Wednesday or a Thursday. Is UPS dropping off? Are you open? Probably not. So it might take 8 days, or just something happens out there. If it takes 8 days rather than 7, in Grant's whiteboard world, what's going to happen? I'm going to run out of inventory for a day. What if a customer calls me up or comes in one day and goes, Grant, I'll take 2 of these. No, you can only take 1 at a time, right? You're going to mess up my system. No, we're going to sell them 2, and then what's going to happen? We're going to run out of stock for a day. So lead time and usage are fluctuant, all right? We can't always predict them. So what's the thing that we add in to help offset that? Safety stock. So we said we sell 7 over the lead time. Let's add a 50% safety onto this one. We'll come back into much more detail around how to set safety and stuff as we get going in the day. So let's add a 50%. So we use 7 during the lead time. 50% would be a 3.5. Most of us don't buy 4 or 3.5. We'd round that up. And now we'd say, really, our order point now is 11. And just to make sure you still see it in there, here's the 7 to cover the lead time that we had a minute ago. And here are 4 in safety stock. Now, what's that safety geared to do for me? Handle fluctuations in usage and lead time. So theoretically, between the two, I could sell up to 11 during that 7-day lead time. I could be okay. Or it could take up to 11 days to come in, and I'd still be okay. Or some combination of the two, I'm within 50%. Everyone there? So that extra 4 is to cover fluctuations in usage and lead time. Now, so a lot of us use it for what else? I'm not saying it's wrong up front, but eventually it's costing us money because safety is inventory that sits there forever. It costs money. We need it, but often we're using it for things we don't need. Well, Grant, our purchasing is really backed up, and everything they should have been buying last week, they're not getting until this week, so they're a week behind. So therefore, we have to have an extra week of safety. If your buyers can't keep up, it's either fill rate's going to die or you're going to have to put inventory in to offset that delay. Everyone there? Now, what's a better way to fix that? Put inventory in or get it to the point where your buyers can keep up. You'll find out buyers keeping up is a better way than putting inventory. What else did we put it in? Oh, our receiving's always behind, Grant. They can't keep up, and even though it came in 7 days, it doesn't get on the shelf for 9 days. You guys with me? 2 more days it takes, so we have to build 2 more days in. And I'll see companies that have the 50%. Now, we talked about usage and lead time. Who controls that? Who controls usage? Overall, big picture. Your customers, right? Who controls lead time? Vendors. So those are both external. Now, we can add some controls and some push, but overall, they're external to our world. So therefore, we have to build this in for a particular fill rate. Who controls when our buyers buy? Sales was the answer over here, just so you know. I like that answer. The word I was looking for is we do. By whatever procedures we put in place, how we're going to use the system, what objectives. But in the end, whether we have enough people there or not, we determine whether our buyers can keep up. We determine whether our receivers can keep up. We determine whether AP can keep up. And you go, no, we don't. Yeah, if AP can't keep up, that's because we're placing too many POs for the infrastructure. Either slow down your POs, add some technology to bring it as an advanced ship EDI, or add another AP person. Now, I'm not saying I like that last one, but sometimes it's there. But where I'm going back to is usage and lead time are outside of our world. We can help work with it, but it's not in our control. When we cut POs and transfers, how we do receiving, how we do AP, that is in our control, 100%. So if you have safety invested for those internal things, I'm not saying go back Monday and eliminate the safety. Go back Monday and start eliminating the reasons you have to have that extra safety in there. Get it to where your buyers can look at where the items below order point every day. Get it to where your receiving's caught up on a daily basis. Get it to where AP's invoices are in, we're not missing discounts. Now I don't have to have safety for that. Everyone there? Okay, very good. So again, here we are. 7 during the lead time, 4 extra safety. This is the point. It's time, and when it hits here, it's time to buy. That's what we call its order point. Usage during lead time plus safety. Now in general, I'm going to cover it later, how much safety do we need on items? How much safety did we need on Grant's perfect world? Usage is perfect and lead time is perfect. I need 0 safety stock. And as my usage and lead time become more fluctuant, one or the other, and, well, let me switch up for a second. What if I have a very fluctuant usage and lead time, but I don't care about fill rate on this item? How much safety should I have? Theoretically 0. So what determines safety? What fill rate I want to get and how fluctuant my usage and lead time are. More fluctuant usage and lead time and wanting a good fill rate, my usage or my safety factor has to go up. Good steady usage and lead time, or don't care about fill rate, I don't need as much safety. Everyone there? Because a lot of us do what with safety? Well, Grant, we set that 22 years ago when we went live on the system. They helped us. What is it? I have no idea. And it's probably 50% across everything in your company, not enough for many items, and way too much on some of your items. Now, let's bring home one snag as long as we're here. We'll cover it later. We're going to talk about ranking later, but it's based on hits. I've got an A item out there, now again, based on hits. So it means it may only be a $1 item, but they ask for it every day. Everyone with me? Hits, velocity. It's important to our customers. And I have another item out there as a C item. Hey, this sells 3 times a day, shows up on a pick ticket. This shows up every other month. I'm going to put a 50% safety on one of those, and I want to put 100% safety on one of those. From what we just talked about, which one should probably get which? A should get 100 and C should get 50. Now think about that for a minute, everyone. Now again, I know where that's coming from, our fill rate. But I'm also going to come back to the more fluctuant the usage and lead time are, we need more safety to account for it. The less fluctuant the usage and lead time are, the less safety. What item can I predict better? An A item that's selling 3 or 4 times a day, I've got lots of usage and lots of receivers, versus that one that's selling every 3 months, so I'm ordering it twice a year, and I'm selling every 3 months. And it's on purpose, Rick, because at first our mind, our common sense sometimes likes to trick us, is where I'm going. Our common sense, a lot of you said exactly the same thing. Well, the A should get the 100%, it's the A. That's our common sense tricking us, and when I bring you back to what is safety really for, fluctuations in usage and lead time, and again, this is in general. The A can have the 50% because I can predict it much better, usage and lead time, and the C would have the 100. In a little bit later, I'm going to show D's possibly with either 125 or 0. If I'm worried about fill rate, you're going to probably at least start off with 125%. If you're not worried about fill rate, then 0. I'm not going to invest in something I don't worry. And a lot of you are going, this guy this morning was great, but now 125% on a D item. He's getting out there. That's crazy. Look at all the money we're going to have in D items. How much D items do we carry to start with?
1.
Not much. Agreed? 50% of not much is how much? Not much. And 125% of not much is what? Still not much, right? This is determining, again, based on what fill rate we need. You like that, didn't you? What fill rate we determine and how fluctuant the usage and lead time are. Now that A item, the difference between a 50% safety on it and 125 is what? 3 warehouses, you guys, or something. You following what I'm saying? That A, that safety, and I don't need it. All right? I got many companies that only run on 20% on A items. Now, what do they make sure they're doing? They've got good lost sales. They're looking at their usage. They have some good monitor reports. They're doing good lead time exceptions. They have good usage and lead time. They can buy when they need to. They're not behind. If I need to come in today and something needs to be bought, it's not, oh, when I get through these 43 yellow stickers, I'll see if I can do some buying today. They're able to buy. They can run low safety stocks. So I just wanted to bring that home to us. A little bit about safety. You'll see that again as we go through it. So now we know when to buy. Usage during lead time plus safety stock. Now let's talk about the how much for a minute. Because I said something earlier. All of you agreed in Grant's whiteboard world. If I always sell 1 a day and it always takes 7 days, as long as I always bought, in that example, at 7, whether I bought 1 and the next day I buy again, or I bought 30 and 30 days later I buy again, I would never run out and I'd have a perfect fill rate. Meaning, the how much didn't dictate the fill rate. And here's where I'm going with that. Does everyone agree with what I'm just saying? But yet, what do we do? And I'm going to break it. And again, you'll see about 8 or 10 things where our common sense sends us straight. I'm going to straighten out. The first one was safety that we just talked about. What's another misconception? You have someone right back there, and I'm going to make you cringe. Your buyers are here today. You just ran out of something, and someone's cutting a PO for you. All right? Whether it's the president or your partner or whatever, but they looked and they go, oh, last time George bought 100 of these, I'm looking at the last PO, and we ran out of stock. So what are they putting on the PO right now? Because this is what we do too till we get our perception around it. Oh, well, I better buy 200 of them because we ran out of stock. Now think about this. If I let that 100 go to a particular place where I buy and I bought out, I ran out of stock, right? So now I brought in twice as much. But if I let the 200 go to the same spot wherever the 100 went to, what's still going to happen to me? I am still going to run out of stock. Oh, well, I know how to fix that, Grant. Let's get 400 of them then. Now, I agree. It'll be 4 times longer before we get the stock out, but if I don't change the win, and I let that 400 go to the same spot where the 200 were the 100, when I place the buy and I'm running out of stock, I'm still gonna run out of stock. If I keep running out of stock and it's just 2 days too late, because a lot of you run this. A lot of you read some articles in the, 80s and 90s, which was just in time inventory, but a lot of you actually run a JTL system. What's that one? Just too late, all right? It's always 2 days after you need it. He's like it. So if it's always running out 2 days after I need it, do I need to buy from 100 to 200, or do I need to buy 2 days sooner? I need to buy sooner, not more. And I'm driving that home because when we get in those seats and this stuff is working on us, that safety we're out there thinking of differently, and what I just talked about, a lot of us would have put more on the PO or transfer rather than go, oh, I need to raise this up so it tells me to buy 2 days sooner, not more. Everyone in agreement? This is a big one for a lot of you because, again, and I won't have a raise of hands, but I see the smiles. A lot of you buy more when you run out, not sooner. Got a question right here, Courtney, please.
Not just, it seems to me it's not only when to buy, but how often as well.
Well, that's going to come up now.
Okay.
That's going to come into this. But what we're saying is this. I'll plan it and then we'll bring it home. A lot of you are set on still what I call a review cycle. Hey, we'll buy every 2 weeks. Now, review cycle came out of a discussion I had earlier. And review cycle, the term is obsolete. And you shouldn't be thinking that way. Where did review cycle come from? In the 60s and 70s, when I had to walk the warehouse. Remember that? Could I walk the warehouse every day? Absolutely not. So 3M loved us. We loved to get these from them, and we loved to get their highlighters, even though it's not a highlighter. You know what I mean? And we'd color up our calendars nice. Hey, every Friday I'm going to go out to the warehouse and buy and review this line. You guys with me? So it was a review cycle, and I couldn't do it daily. But what happens if I would have gone out there? I'm going out there every Friday, and I go out there on Friday, and a bin's completely empty, and I do a little checking. I was out there last Friday, and it was full. Someone spiked me on Monday and took it all, but I didn't see it till next Friday because I'm on a review cycle. When you see it, you're going, "Cow, I wish I would have walked out here Monday and saw that and buy it." You agree, Charlie? So that's where we're going with that. So I turn review cycle into order cycle for you guys. There's a difference in the worlds we're getting ready to bring up. If you want good customer experience, I'm sorry, it cannot be based on a review cycle. I'll look at it every 2 weeks. It cannot be based on when I hit a $20,000 target, I'll cut a PO. If you have a worthy item, worthy probably an A or B, but let's say a worthy item is an item you prefer not to run out of. And if you run out of it, you're going to go do the fire thing to make it work. I don't care how often your review cycle is. I don't care where you're at in your spectrum, even if you just bought yesterday. If that worthy item goes below order point, what's going to happen if you do not replenish? Whether you're 1 day into your review cycle or 30 days into a 15-day review cycle. You are going to run out. So that's one of the shifts. And it's a little before I was going to hit it, but that's really what you're bringing up, in a sense. When we buy has to be looked at daily for worthy items below order point because our customers don't, they only buy that every 2 weeks and we'll spread our orders out accordingly. They may spike you the very next day after it comes in and you need to buy. were the items below order point, and we'll talk about that as we go on. So now let's go to the overall, how much? We've hit order point, minimum, reorder point. It's time to replenish for service, so I don't stock out in between my POs or transfers. How much should I buy now? How much should I buy? Now this is the one some of you have been waiting for because you've heard stories, so I better put it in there. I almost didn't use it last year, and they go, wait, where's the example? I mentioned this morning I grew up in the country, because when I ask this question and leave it in your distribution product world, it stuns you. When I bring it back to real life, you guys will answer the question just like that. So let's bring it back to real life, how much I should buy. We live out in the country. I explained that this morning. The store's a good distance away, so we only like to go to the grocery store on Saturdays. Everyone with me? We don't like to run there every day. So now, I go to Saturday, and I better not do that. We use a gallon of milk in our house per day. So if we use a gallon of milk in our house per day, and I'm going there on Saturday, and I don't plan on coming back till next Saturday, I don't want to have to come back to the store till next Saturday, how many gallons of milk am I putting in the cart? 7, 8, you're there. But you guys got it, and see how quick that answer came? So if we talk milk and all that, everyday world, it comes back. How'd you get that answer?
Review cycle.
Review cycle. Take it a little deeper for me.
Lead time.
Not lead time. Usage. Here's what I did. I'm in the cart, I'm shopping, and the whole thought is this. It's nothing more than, when do I plan to come back next? If I want to come back the next day, I only need to put 1 gallon because I'll be back tomorrow. I'll use a gallon a day. If I don't want to come back to the store for 4 days, I better put 4 gallons in there. If I don't want to come back for 7 days, I have to buy enough to take me out to the next time I plan on coming back to the store. It's that simple. Now, you're calling it review cycle. I like to call it order cycle, but it's simply that. I'm getting ready to buy today, and the first factor of how much is, if I'm coming back in a week, I better get a week's supply. If I don't get at least a week's supply, it's going to go below order point before I want to buy. If I'm coming back in a month, I better get a month's supply. If I'm coming back in 6 months, I better get a 6-month supply. Don't make it more complicated than that. Now, in a minute, how do we know how often we're going to go back? We'll add a little bit to it. But right now it is, when do I plan on coming back? I need to buy enough to take me till the next time I'm going to cut the next PO or transfer. Everyone good with that? All right. Now let's bring that home, because we don't follow that. When they send out the directive, cut down inventory, what do I see many folks doing? Yeah, oh, the computer, it's buying a month's supply. I know how to smarten up. I'm smarter than the system. They want to lower inventory. I'll buy 2 weeks' worth. So they buy 2 weeks' worth, but 2 weeks goes by. A items are now going below order point, but we also go for a certain freight, which takes us a month to hit. So now what? I've got items below order point I'm running out of, but I'm not buying because I was trying to make a freight target. We lost on that one. We try to manipulate the system and outsmart it. Once we understand it, we'll go, oh, that wasn't such a good move. And let's bring that into this world that I just explained. Now, what's the reasons we do this? Oh, the cart's full. I can't fit 7 gallons of milk in it. Oh, I didn't clean out the fridge before I left, and it's full of all that stuff from the graduation party. 7 gallons won't fit. I'm equating this back to what? Your warehouse is full, so you can't fit it in. All these can come back to you. My cart's full. I've already hit a target of 10,000, so I don't need to buy all this. Oh, we're in a cash flow crunches. The wife told me before I came, Grant, you have $50 to spend on groceries. I really wanted to get the lobster, honey, so I put the milk back. You guys with me? You got the story here. Whatever the case, if I'm there on Saturday and I put 4 gallons of milk, again, I'm out of milk at home. Let's make sure we understand that, or I've got 1 gallon left. I only put 4 gallons in there, and I don't want to come back till Saturday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What just happened on Wednesday in Grant's world? We just ran out of milk, you guys. And a lot of you know me. My cookies and milk at night, they're important. My wife say, well, just drink the water. If anyone's cookies and milk, water doesn't cut it. You know what I mean? All right? So now, I've only got I only bought 4 gallons of milk. I ran out on Wednesday. I don't like going to the store on Saturday, but I don't like to be without milk, and this is bringing it back to your real world now. What can I do? I can go back to the store, 15 miles away. Don't plan on going on a Wednesday night. It's my daughter's ballet night. There's all kinds of, you following me? That's you guys going back to the vendor before you planned. You don't get freight, let's just say. Valid, but I don't like it. What's the next one I could do? Transfer. What that one is, I'm going to call it borrow. I can go from the neighbor, right? I got a neighbor down. I can go over there and say, can I borrow? Now I'm going to talk about both of these. Can I borrow some milk from you? They look, they go, sure, we've got an extra couple gallons. And they take it. Versus, no, they looked, I don't have any. Often we steal it. And that's what transfers. We're taking inventory that they were going to sell the next day. It's valid, but I still don't like it if we weren't planned. It's extra. There's one more I could do also. There's a couple more. Got a little local gas station, right? It's about 2 miles from the house. So we can run off to the local gas station on Wednesday night. 2 things I got to be careful with. I'm still spending time I didn't plan on doing. It's going to be $5.79 versus $4.79 for the gallon of milk. And I got to be really careful on expiration dates. Everyone with me? But if milk's important enough, I'll go pay the $5.79. But I didn't like any of those answers. Go back to the store on Wednesday when I only like to go on Saturdays. Go try to borrow it from a neighbor, and if they won't give it to me, see if I can steal it from them, because we do that in the real world. Or run off to the local gas station, costing me extra time and costing me more. What would have been a better answer?
Buy more again.
On Saturday, I should have put 7 gallons of milk in the cart, and I wouldn't be in this self-inflicted, I'm using that term on purpose, this self-inflicted situation, because we often self-inflict this onto ourselves by not going, oh, we can outsmart the system. It knows we're not coming back for a month, but we think we're smarter and we can buy 2 weeks worth, and then 2 weeks later we're going, system's broken, we're stocking out, and I'm nowhere near freight. System's not broke. We decided to do that. Everyone following this, because this is really important of the how much to buy. Now I'm surprised, because normally when I'm in Michigan, or if I got folks from Wisconsin, or if I got folks from California, there's normally one more answer that comes into there, and what's that? Get the cow, okay? Too expensive. I don't want to open a manufacturer. All right, you guys have the analogy. So now, let's go back to where we started. How do we know in our world when we're going to go back to the source? Whether it's a vendor or it's a branch for a central warehouse. If I'm going to them weekly, I need to send them at least a week's supply. If I'm transferring daily, a daily supply. If I'm only going to go once a month, I better transfer or buy a month's supply. How do we now determine when we can go back to the source? Because that's the answer here that we've got to determine.
Lead time.
No, lead time is how long it takes me to get something when I place a PO with them. Now I'm asking, and again, later, and I'll push this one, these two will fry your mind for the next 3 days, but I'm going to work very hard to separate the two. Lead time is how long it takes us to get it. Order cycle is how long we're going to wait between POs or transfers. 2 separate things. My lead time to the store was getting in the car and driving up. It was a half hour. My order cycle is every 7 days, how often I want to go. Following it? They are distinctly different and play 2 different things in the formulas, which I'll show you. So what I'm really talking about here is order cycle. How do we determine how often we want to go back to this vendor?
Your min-max level?
Min-max level, keep going there. I want to get bigger than that. I'll help you. Most of you, the first determinant is this. Vendor has a target. If we spend $10,000, place a 10,000 piece, 10,000 pounds, 10,000 cubes, 10,000 something. You guys with me? There's some target. If you hit this target, we'll pay freight. You don't hit this target, you pay freight. That's in a lot of your worlds. So what do we come back and do? Hey, they've got a target of 10 grand. And we go out and look, and we're doing 20 grand a month with this supplier at cost. How often could we go back to that vendor and get a paid full PO? Twice a month, every 2 weeks, right? So if I go every week, instead of 2 weeks, I don't plan on buying. Now, a lot of you try that, even though we know it's going to take 2 weeks to hit target. Oh, but we're trying to get turns, Grant. We're only going to buy a week's supply. That's fine. But a week later, you're going to be below order point, and you're only going to be at a $5,000 PO. So now you have to determine, am I going to suffer customer experience and not buy? Or am I going to suffer profitability and pay freight? You guys with me? It's a decision on either side by what we decided. This one, I could make it every 2 weeks. If I was doing 10,000, I could make it every month. Now, let's just bring a couple things home. I'm doing $1 million a month with this vendor. How often can I go back to the vendor? They need 10,000 men. I don't know what it is. Every 17 seconds, you go work it out, okay? I don't know what, but again, what we'd come in and say, there's fences that we put around this that says, hey, most of us don't want to go back to the vendor more than once per week because of our infrastructure. We can't spin any faster than that. Our purchasing, receiving, put away, and AP couldn't keep up. Now, as you bring better technology, some of you are starting to actually plan on going twice a week. And that's okay if what? I'm cutting out 3 days of inventory as long as my cost of purchasing is low enough to say I can go twice a week and it's not costing me more than it would have been just to sit on a week's supply. Making sense, everybody? It's all this balance. All right? So again, we'd have a fence and say on this one probably when we calculate your order cycle, if anything calculates less than 7 days, move it back up to 7. I don't want to go more than every 7 days. So that's the first one. What about if we're doing this? It's a $10,000 target and we're doing $500 a month. How long would it take me to hit target? 20 months, right? So that's going to say, hey, every 20 months you're going to hit target. So every 20 months you can place a PO with this supplier to get freight. Most of us go, and that means you're going to have to buy 20 months worth, right? What's starting to kick into your mind now? You just hit it. For what I saved in freight, but I had to buy 20 months worth, and the carrying cost on 20 months far exceeds the freight. I'd be better off paying the freight and going back to buying it once a week. Everyone agreed? But we're going through this analysis. We're putting in your targets. We're coming back and saying, what's too seldom? Probably more than once a week. How far would we be willing to reach out to hit that target? For most of you, I'll just give it to you. I'll justify it tomorrow. 60 to 90 days. Because what are we really talking about? Here's what I just said. I'd be willing to buy up to 90 days, 3 months of inventory to get freight. Most of you are going, huh? 3 months worth, huh? How much is freight for most of you if you were to pay it? Depends on the stuff, but overall average on freight, now again, you're getting a lot of free freight, but if you were to go figure that out, most of you spend around 4 or 5% on freight is what you would spend of the dollar. So if it was a dollar product, you spend about $1, $4, $5 if you paid the freight. Everyone there? What's carrying cost on 90 days worth? Well, I said this morning, 24% a year, 2% a month. You guys with me? So on 90 days, that would be 246%. But that inventory, when it starts off with a 90-day supply, on day 0, it's going to be down to what? A 0-day supply. So I really didn't have a 90-day supply average. I had what? A 45-day average. Everyone follow me? If I bring in 90 days, and over 90 days it goes back to 0, I really had a month and a half average inventory. Apply the 2% a month to that, and you'll go, oh, it was actually less expensive to sit on 90 days worth of inventory, and because that's going to turn out to be whatever it was, 3%, than to pay the 5% freight. That's all this is a break even of which is less. Which is less. And I'm just going to bring that for most of you. If you're in that 4 to 5% freight world, and I'll bring this home to you tomorrow in a formula for something else, you could buy up to about 90 days of inventory to hit that freight target, and it would be worth it. If you had to buy more than 90 days of freight, then I'd probably, or 90 days worth, I'd either pay freight or I'd start consolidating my warehouses. I'd go back and negotiate with my supplier, may drop the line. There's other things I may do, but from the straight conversation we're having, I'd buy up to 90 days on a 5% freight, and it would still make sense to do that. I would save more money than paying the freight. Everyone good? Okay. So let's go through this and hit one. I've got an item out there, and again, this vendor is $10,000 target. We're doing $10,000 a month, i.e. we have a 30-day order cycle. You can call it review cycle. You can call it transfer cycle when we get the transfers. But the idea is I plan on buying from this vendor about every 30 days. That's how long it takes me to make target to sell off enough at cost of goods sold. So I'm going to come back to this vendor every 30 days. So here's what we have, the order cycle. 30 days in there. Let me put that up the same way. And in this example, we were selling 1 a day. So my order point was 11. Over a 30-day period, if I'm selling 1 a day, I would sell 30. So 11 plus 30 would be 41. And now this is what we call the max or the line point. Okay? That's the term. So I'm just showing you how we come up with this. So line point was nothing more than the order point plus when do we plan on coming back. If I'm going to come back in 2 weeks, it'd be 2 weeks above order point. If I'm coming back in 2 months, it'd be 2 months. In this example, I'm coming back in 1 month above my order point. So it's saying wherever I'm at, If I'm down here at 11 and it's time to buy, worthy items gone below order point, I'm going to take us up to here. And what's the magic with this? That I can't shortchange it. I have to take it up to here. Why? I don't plan on coming back for 30 days because I want to hit freight. And if I buy anything less than 30 days, 2 weeks worth, 2 weeks later, I'm going to be sitting with an item below order point going, cow, I need to buy. And I'm going to be sitting on a PO that's only halfway to my target. And now I'm like, which one do I do? Now, in the customer experience world, you guys are still going to cut the PO and pay the freight or beef it up to get it. In the profitability world, you guys are going to what? Let customer experience go to the wayside and wait till you hit freight. And I'm saying if we do it smart, we can have both the customer experience and the profitability. Okay. Now, let's do something else. So now we know the when to buy. Usage during lead time plus safety gives us our win. That's our fill rate. When it gets down to the order point, worthy items, we take it back up to the line point. So that becomes our profits, and I'll explain that, and how much. Now, how is that dictating our profits? Because just what we did was compare, in the analogy, not real deep right now, cost to carry versus freight, and which one's less. That's how we came up with this, and we said if it took 200 days to hit this target, we'd be better off not getting free freight and paying carrying cost. If I can make it every 3 days, I'm not going to go there because my cost to purchase is going to kill me, bringing a whole week's worth. So in this line point calculation, this order cycle we just did, we're already starting to take in 2 of our 3 cost factors, freight and cost to carry, and say, which number is going to give us the total least cost between freight and cost to carry? Make sense with everybody? We okay? Okay. Now, so here I am. I bring it up to this. I want to dive off for a minute to the what items. Everyone's agreeing. If these items go below order point, and I don't want to stock out, and the order point's right, I need to replenish, correct? So they're going to be on my PO, and I'm going to bring them at least up to here, i.e. enough till the next time I plan on replenishing. There's some other items that probably should be included. What about this guy? It's not below order point. Should we buy him or not?
Yes,
And how come?
because next review cycle, you need to keep it up to level.
Yeah, perfect. Here's what would happen.